Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Faith and Fandom Feedback Friday podcast. As we are going to be going over news for the last week and just kind of slice of life in general. Hope you're doing all right. Um, it has absolutely been a week. Um, Not in the worst ways, but definitely a interesting faux show and right on. Um, but yeah, hope you're doing good. As we're heading into the last lap of February and all that that entails. Um, Starting out the gate, while I'm actually thinking about it, there's some new music out today. Ren Collective has a new song, um, something about St. Patrick. I know that's not surprising, but yeah. Um, what was it called? Here we go. The Prayer of St. Patrick. Ren Collective dropped that today. And then also, John Form or not John Foreman, Switchfoot released a new song with a blues legend, and I'll tell you about that in a second. As soon as I actually look at my notes, but I'm buying these songs while I'm thinking about it so that I don't forget because it's a lot going on today, and I'll be hitting the road pretty quickly after this, and on the road to work, and then on the road to cons. Let's see if it happened to put up the new song first, and it did not. But it's with a blues legend, but we'll get there. But yeah, good morning, y'all. Hope you're doing good. Lynn, good morning. Jeff, good morning. Lynn, I'll see you soon. I'm excited. Um, Absolutely. Yep, it's been a week for sure. And starting out our week on con news, outside of the little music intro, this past weekend was KatsuCon. Good morning, Tristan and Birch family at large. If everybody's huddled up today, tonight for y'all. It's nighttime in Australia. But KatsuCon is one of the bigger Comic Cons in the DC area, kind of like right next to Awesome Con, or it's definitely smaller than Awesome Con, but it's a big one. Very heavy anime focus. But this weekend at Awesome Con, probably one of the worst possible scenarios for a Comic Con took place, in which at the convention center, a sewage line burst in the ceiling and rained down sewage material on Artist Alley. Um, and One of my uh, Comic Con Artist Alley buddies, who I am a fan of, was there and has video footage of it, like just literally raining down on Artist Alley. I've had a lot of bad things happen in Artist Alley. That's a new one, and I don't wish that on anyone. And I hope that whatever artists and vendors were fairly compensated for damages and just trauma, but we'll see. Um, Drake officially made an announcement this week that he is moving on from the beef, and he just wants to get the party lit up and do more like music that doesn't revolve around this beef. So, which is probably a wise life choice. Um, yeah. And really interesting note, there are two big um news pieces for The Chosen this week. The Chosen will officially be releasing a three-part theatrical release for Holy Week, from like entering Jerusalem to the Last Supper to the arrest slash crucifixion, I think. But they're releasing three episodes, each one in theaters, beginning on March 28th. Part one is March 28th, part two is April 4th, and part three is April 11th. So it'll be the 3 weeks leading up to Easter. So it's almost like your own cinematic Lent will be going down. Um, that's a pretty interesting thing. On another piece of Chosen news, uh, Amazon officially acquired rights for The Chosen, and will now Amazon slash MGM, and will now be responsible for primary streaming and theatrical releases for The Chosen World. So more than likely, Amazon will be benefiting from these releases, but either way, it's happening. I think it's pretty baller that this show has lasted the long as it has to go multiple seasons, several theatrical releases, and be able to spend like a whole season effectively on the crucifixion, Holy Week, the whole deal. So I think that's pretty great. Uh, the traumatic and one of best reviewed horror films of hey Sean, good to see you, dude. Um, but Longlegs, which is considered one of the scariest movies of 2024, and maybe one of Nicolas Cage's best performances. I've not seen it. Is officially on Hulu. So if that world is your cup of tea, you can go get scared. Um, Disney announced through Forbes this week that they plan to shift their focus to being back to its core entertainment mindset. Um, yeah, I'll leave it there. They just made that announcement. Um, Doctor Who, the entire classic series, meaning everything up to David Tennant, is now available to watch free on YouTube. So if you want 28 years of Doctor Who, that's right there for you on YouTube. Um, Kanye West and his ex, or now ex, Bianca Censori, have split up and they're heading for divorce. Um, Jeff, yeah, it is sweet. It's Access to Doctor Who is pretty great. Um, Donald Glover and Maya Erskine are reportedly going to be reporting back for some episodes of Mr. and Mrs. Smith season two when it comes out. Mr. and Mrs. Smith was a pretty dope spy thriller that Donald Glover directed and everything. So it left on a big cliffhanger. Zoe Saldana, who is, Gamora, was pulled off camera after becoming, I'm not going to say belligerent, but she was swearing a bit too heavily for the BAFTAs, which is, the British awards, like the Golden Globes of England. And she was swearing too much and which is funny because it's England. Um, and they swear a lot. Uh, but she got pulled off stage after winning an award. The wrestler and self-appointed comedian of the WWE, Chelsea Green, um, she's the first United States women's champion. And so she's doing the whole thing like she's the president of the WWE, and her sidekick Piper is like her Secret Service. So she's doing this whole presidential thing. Released an official presidential decree that wedgies are no longer allowed in her matches. It's just something fun and silly. Um, if you were a fan of the Umbrella Academy, you know that the TV series went far beyond the comics, much Game of Thrones esque. Um, and with that, uh, the comics will now be catching up to where the TV show went. Um, so the Umbrella Academy is releasing a new comic book series called this Plan B, which will focus on the Sparrow Academy, which were the uh, kind of last villains or teammates that they see in the last couple seasons of Umbrella Academy. So the comics are now repeating after this show. But again, I'll just say this, and I've said this a handful of times on the Pull List podcast. The Umbrella Academy reads like a NyQuil-induced fever dream. So if you enjoyed what the TV show was, just be prepared. It is not going to be that coherent when you read it. Um, Earlier in the week, a Delta Airlines plane turned upside or crashed upside down in Canada. Um, and were left like suspended in the air after they spiraled a whole bunch of just non-expecting trauma. Um, Miraculously, no one died. Eight people were hurt. And everybody was traumatized, but they managed to spin through the air, crash upside down, and still like make it out of there. And everybody was rescued. I call that a win. Good job. Good job, everybody. Um, the SNL 50th anniversary happened this past week, um, and had its own share of uh Todd says, yeah, and now they're trying to get out of it by paying everyone 30,000. Dude, I don't know that 30,000 would be enough for getting out of that kind of trauma. Um, but you know what? It's a start. It's a start. The SNL 50th anniversary happened. There were lots of highlights, also some apparent lowlights. Um, People that, especially Trump supporters and conservative Christians, were upset at Tom Hanks's recurring role on the sketch Black Jeopardy. Um, and Ryan Reynolds also caught heat because he imprompted a joke that made light of all the legal issues going on with him and Blake Lively. But past that, it was nice to recognize that SNL's been going for 50 years. Eddie Murphy got to do some shining on there. A lot of other people came back. It was, if you're a fan of SNL, you got a lot of good stuff with it. Um, Also, Emma Stone wore a dress that had pockets, but they were pockets that held whole containers of popcorn. So she had popcorn just like sashaying out of her hips as she walked, and it was kind of great. Um, uh, Utah uh, has banned unions from negotiating for wages for teachers, firefighters, police officers, and public employees. So Utah's basically effectively neutered the concept of unions for anything public related. Um, I'm in the South. We don't really have unions to begin with, uh, but it's been neutered. Um, uh, the Rings of Power has officially been renewed for season three. Yay. Um, it says it's going to be jumping ahead several years from the events of season two. Season three will take place at the height of the war of the elves and Sauron as the Dark Lord seeks to craft the one ring that will give him the edge he needs to win the war and conquer all of Middle Earth at last. So season three, it looks like they're preparing for season three to be the last season. Originally, the show was like built to run 7 seasons. Now it's not faced that positive of a reception, but still positive enough to keep going with season three. So, in my take, this will probably be the last season, and they'll end it off where the movies drop. We'll see though. Um, uh, Reportedly, air quotes, and this is reportedly, the NFL now regrets hiring Kendrick as their halftime show just because of the negative backlash reported. Um, the Kansas City Chiefs Super Bowl champion gear, which, if you're not aware, for every Super Bowl, Todd says one season for each of the elves rings, and you know what? There you go. Uh, the Kansas City Chiefs did not win the Super Bowl, but so that they can have all those great moments on the field, and so they can be ready to sell bajillions of dollars worth of merch. Each Super Bowl Both teams have championship gear printed. So there's an entire, couple 18 wheelers of championship gear that's sitting like in the parking lot of Chief Stadium, or not Chief Stadium, but in New Orleans in case they won. The Kansas Chiefs, City Chiefs, had especially a lot amount of gear printed because this would have been their three-peat Super Bowl. So not only did they have Super Bowl champion gear, they had Super Bowl champion three-peat gear. And all of that stuff that has been printed has been shipped to the Ukraine, to Mongolia, to Georgia, to Estonia, and Latvia. Um, so they basically were able to clothe 5 countries with the amount of Super Bowl merch they printed for the Kansas City Chiefs to spread it out across 5 countries. And in doing so, bless a bunch of people. Um, there's been a lot of speculation this week, and nothing officially confirmed, but a lot of speculation that Nshuti Gatwa, who plays the Doctor on Doctor Who right now, Todd says so. All of Russia thinks the Chiefs won. Yes, yes, they did. Um, Nshuti Gatwa, who plays the Doctor on Doctor Who, is reportedly unhappy with always having his name and time as the Doctor associated with people being upset about wokeness, and is reportedly quitting. Um, and the show will be canceled and shelved for 5 years. BBC says that's not true, um, and that the decision has always been made that decision for season three will be decided after season two airs, um, which has already been filmed, but it does need to air. Um, but the it has gained ground with younger viewers, but it has not lived up to the height of Doctor Who fame. And so yeah, they're talking about all the shelving and all the things, but it's a thing and not the best for uh Doctor Who as a whole property. Uh Cynthia Erivo, who played Elphaba slash the Wicked Witch in the movie Wicked, will be hosting the 2025 Tony Awards, which is not a surprise. But what probably might surprise you is the fact that Cynthia Erivo will be playing Jesus Christ in a upcoming production of Jesus Christ Superstar at the Hollywood Bowl. So that's a thing, and y'all can just sit back and wait for all the commentary that's going to go down with that one. But yeah, that's so happening. Yep. Even though Marvel Rivals is one of the most successful uh, video games to be launched in a hot minute, Marvel Rivals game director and full team have just been laid off this past week. Um, so basically, they got the game developed by the primary developers and then laid everybody off and are having a cheaper um, team. Good morning, Paris Green. They're having a cheaper team run the game as it's already existing. And there's a lot of backlash with that already. Um, yeah. The USDA announced that it accidentally fired officials that have been working on bird flu and is trying to rehire them. Um, so that's chaos. Snapchat, if you're not aware, Snapchat has streaks that as long as two people message each other and send a photo to each other each day, they'll continue a streak. Snapchat's longest streak officially this past week surpassed 10 years, reaching over 3,662 days of consecutive snaps between two people. It's between two friends named Katie and Aaron, and they hold the longest snap streak in the world. Uh, Rapper and boyfriend of Rihanna was officially found not guilty of his 2021 shooting. Which, Tristan, yes, Snapchat is still around, and it is the primary form of communication between a lot of people. Um, Surprisingly enough. And they have premium versions where you can change the backgrounds now and basically turn it into MySpace. And they also have a version where you can just talk to AI, which is a no-go. Um, but yes, Snapchat is still around. Aesop Rocky has vowed that they will name his and Rihanna's next child after their lawyer for getting them through this. Mindy Kaling. Todd says the youngsters only Snapchat. I got some old people in my church to Snapchat, bro. Honestly, I don't know if it's just youngsters, but Mindy Kaling, uh, writer slash actor for The Office and The Mindy Project and lots of other things, and now the person who's writing Legally Blonde 3, um, is got her star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, which she was accompanied by BJ Novak, who was her on-screen romance for The Office and now real life person. If you're a fan of wrestling, the Hardy Boys will be returning to WWE in a small part as they participate on NXT this week, which WWE and TNA Wrestling have a partnership that's going well. Uh, and, there's been lots of, hey, Christopher, good morning. There's been lots of cuts and firings and things like that that have affected various programs over the last couple weeks. Um, uh, the Department of Education and Federal Teaching Quality Partnership Grant um, was one of the things that got cut, and it was a huge portion of the teacher residency model that functions with ECU, which is a big school for teaching here in North Carolina, and they were hit dramatically, and there's a lot of feedback for that one. Switchfoot and blues legend Buddy Guy have released a new song today called Last Man Standing, which I'm buying now. Do, do, do. Last Man Standing. Because I still buy my songs and download them and put them on my Zune because I'm an old man. I want access on the little robot that talks, but I also want to be able to burn a CD if I feel like it. So, Last Man Standing, Switchfoot, downloaded. There we go. Um, so yeah, Switchfoot and Ren Collective released new songs today. John Krasinski this past week announced that they have begun filming the Jack Ryan movie. If you enjoyed the TV series on Amazon, uh, they're continuing the world of Jack Ryan this time cinematically. And yeah, they're in Dubai filming it off this week. Malcolm in the Middle is coming back with a reboot. Not a reboot, a follow-up series. And yeah, there's other news to attach to that, but I'm just gonna leave that there. Um, this week in San Francisco, a robot that was initially designed for war did a 30-minute DJ set at a nightclub in California. Just throw that out there. When people say they're coming for your jobs, they're literally coming for your jobs. Um, the a animated film you've never heard of probably has now become the highest grossing animated film worldwide. Kelsey, yeah, Malcolm in the Middle had some gold, and Bryan Cranston really shows his chops going from that to Breaking Bad. Um, Chinese film Neza 2 becomes the highest grossing animated film of all time, just after only being out for a month. It's only been in America in limited theaters um in one space. It is now the eighth highest grossing film of all time, uh, just under Spider-Man No Way Home and just above Inside Out. Um, and so, yeah, they're saying that by the end of the week, it could be below Force Awakens, but it's heading to be one of the highest films of all time. Oh, yeah, I've not seen anything of it other than people posting about the movie. But if you are a fan of it, is a sequel to a film, but it is now making more money than Inside Out, which previously broke the record for how much money an animated film made. Sorry, had a work related crisis to type up real quick. Let me get back to my notes. Thank you for your patience. All right. But yeah, Neza um 2 is currently sitting at earlier this week it was at 1.7 billion dollars. Um so uh it's pretty crazy. Um Last week Kanye got in trouble as Kanye does for a lot of stuff about selling a t-shirt with a swastika on it and calling himself a Nazi. This week, Kanye posted on Twitter, after further reflection, I've come to the realization that I'm not a Nazi. Um, which that shouldn't take further realization. And you probably also shouldn't sell shirts with swastikas on it. Um, if you're a fan of police procedurals and Boston accents, Donnie Wahlberg will star in a Blue Bloods spinoff on CBS. Him and uh, Tom Selleck, right? Tom Selleck, Malcolm or Magnum PI, starred in Blue Bloods. This will be a spinoff after that. Daniel Craig, who has been James Bond for the last bajillion years, has officially stepped down from playing Sergeant Rock in DC's Sergeant Rock movie. Um, it looks like they're eyeing the dude who plays the bear, Jeremy. I forgot his name, but Jeremy, the dude who plays the bear, as the new Sergeant Rock. Uh, Shakira this past week was hospitalized for I can't, not abominable, abdominal issues. Um, and she's forced to postpone a series of concerts because she had abdominal issues. Abdominable it means you got a bad tummy. Um, but yeah, a new sequel series. Um, yeah, Tristan says police procedure. Where's Chris Poirier? Yeah, exactly. A new sequel series to the world of Avatar, the Benders, not the blue people, has been announced. It is called Avatar Seven Havens, and it will follow up the events of The Legend of Korra. So, deep sequel to Avatar. Um, and it will take place in a post-apocalyptic world where there's only one bastion of humanity left, and the Avatar is considered a destroyer, not a savior. And it will also be the first time that the Avatar is a twin. Um, if you are a fan of Avatar, you got some stuff coming. There's also going to be an Avatar chapter in book 10 based on what I did in Geek Church last year in Kentucky and Richmond. So yeah, the NFL, um, according to Sports Illustrated, Brendan says, please let it be better than Cora. Yeah, I feel you. Um, the NFL, according to Sports Illustrated, announced this week that Taylor Swift made the NFL almost $1 billion this year for 2024. Um, and that she's generated over $1 billion in brand revenue for the NFL, that the NFL salary cap went up by more than 25 million, thanks in part to Swift's value creation. And this is according to NFL analysts through Sports Illustrated. Just her presence and endorsement of the sport has made the NFL $1 billion. So since she started dating Travis Kelce, but specifically in the last year, Taylor's presence at the NFL generated $1 billion. So and that's from Sports Illustrated. Um, there is an R&B artist who is named Danny Lee. You may or may not know her, but she is a young woman who has a very heavy following, like in the 4 millions range on Instagram. Um, She got baptized on Sunday, um, and she got baptized on the day that her father's birthday. Um, and she just wanted to make a public proclamation of how good God is to her. And so, yeah, she's progressing further into her journey of faith. Um, there you go. Reacher has season three is officially out on Amazon Prime and is getting really good ratings and reviews for season three. So Reacher season three Prime, jump on it. Um Also, I mentioned Daniel Craig left Sergeant Rock. All Amazon now control has creative control over the 007 franchise. Um so that's the thing. Pokemon Go developer Niantic is reportedly in talks to sell the game business to the Saudi-owned company Scopely for $3.5 billion dollars. Let me just put this out in your math world. Um, Marvel was purchased by Disney for $4 billion dollars. Star Wars was purchased by Disney for $4 billion dollars. This company is looking to spend Disney and Marvel money on Pokemon Go. But let's also put this in perspective. The last time Candy Crush was sold, Candy Crush sold for 8 billion. So, either way, um this is a potential thing. It's not officially happening yet. Nike revealed this week that they are doing a Donkey Kong inspired set of sneakers that look brown and furry with yellow bottoms and a red check mark. You can look those up. I don't think I would rock these. Not Kendrick. Toby Nwigwe released a mint green Reebok, which I would actually probably wear if they would fit me. But I don't think I'd rock the Donkey Kong sneakers. The folks who are currently directing Twisted Metal, the TV series on Amazon, is it Amazon? I think it's on Amazon. Maybe it's Hulu. But either way, the folks that are currently directing the Brendan says so Donkey Kong, but also Chewy. Yes, very much. The yellow makes it a little more Donkey Kong, but it's right up there. The director for Twisted Metal, the TV series, is now going to helm an upcoming Street Fighter movie, where we're getting a live action Street Fighter movie because we need one. Um, yes. The Rock, Emily Blunt, Leonardo DiCaprio are currently in pre-production for a Martin Scorsese Hawaiian crime drama. The Rock, Emily Blunt, Leonardo DiCaprio, Martin Scorsese. If you would have ever told me that The Rock was going to star in a Martin Scorsese crime drama, I would have never believed that. But whatever. We have these things because people want them, apparently. And even if that people is just Scorsese. Severance is now Apple TV's most watched show ever, surpassing Ted Lasso and Shrinking. Um, Good job for Adam Scott. But yeah, with season two dropping, it's the most watched show. Paddington in Peru is officially a massive success worldwide. Um, the Paddington franchise now has made more money than the entire Mad Max franchise, the Sex and the City franchise, the Tomb Raider franchise, and the Austin Powers franchise. By the time you are watching this, Paddington in Peru will most likely overtake the entire Predator franchise, Insidious franchise, and Bridget Jones franchise. So you can't stop the little bear. Uh, if you aren't aware, there's a Peaky Blinders movie that has finished filming called The Immortal Man. This week, Killian Murphy announced that it is coming, but also it won't be the last time we see Peaky Blinders. So even though there is a movie coming, there's more story coming. Tom Holland this week had an awkward moment three times where he went to try and buy his own non-alcoholic beer to give away. So he tried to go buy his own non-alcoholic beer so he could give it out, but his British ID was not accepted. So Homeboy was not even allowed at three separate stores to buy his own non-alcoholic beer. Oh, my man can take on like six villains, but not buy non-alcoholic beer. One aspect of the SNL 50th anniversary that took place that did kind of shine in its own special right was the air quotes return of Nirvana. The surviving members of Nirvana appeared to play on the 50th musical concert to play Smells Like Teen Spirit, and the band was fronted by Post Malone. Now, if you've not watched this and you're saying, oh, gross, whatever, listen, he was surprisingly okay for Post Malone fronting Nirvana. Nirvana seemed to be having the time of their lives, and it was also a special moment because Adam Sandler originally introduced Nirvana on SNL, and Adam Sandler introduced this version of Nirvana on SNL. And it was kind of beautiful to watch them play. It is still, and I think they called it post Nirvana, which is appropriate and funny in all the ways that that would be a Pokemon name or pun. But yeah, if you've not watched the SNL version of Smells Like Teen Spirits with Post Malone and Nirvana, I recommend it. It's 3 minutes you won't get back, but you might enjoy them. Uh, this week, the lawsuit against Jay-Z um, was dismissed, um, and he announced that today is a victory for him. Uh, but the lawsuit was dismissed. Lack of evidence, not corroborated evidence. Now the lawsuit for this was also dropped against P. Diddy, but there's also 40 million other lawsuits against P. Diddy, so it doesn't really mean as much as it does for Jay-Z. Um, but yeah, Jeremy Allen White is the dude I was saying that was going to take over for Sergeant Rock, apparently. If you're a comics reader, Chip Zdarsky, who was really good at Daredevil, okay at Batman, is now being tapped by Marvel to reboot the Captain America comic book franchise. So, uh, Captain America will be starting over with Chip Zdarsky. Um, I'm hopeful for that. We'll see. But yeah, Captain America, Chip Zdarsky, that's coming. A random baby seal was found walking like or scooting along the streets of Connecticut for no earthly reason. the snowy streets of Connecticut and is now being monitored closely by a local aquarium. Who got their hands on a seal in Connecticut and just dropped it off in the streets? That's not okay. Um, if you're familiar with all of the history of Michael Jackson, you're aware that there was a film released a while back called Leaving Neverland that kind of focused on some of the abuse and allegations towards Michael Jackson. A sequel, um, follow-up documentary to that film is being released in March called Surviving Michael Jackson. So that's a thing. Said that part. Somehow, Luigi Mangione, the accused or slash alleged killer of the United Healthcare boss, set up his own website this week in prison where he thanked everyone for the letters. Um, and says that he is hopeful for the future. So, homeboy managed to get a website up. You, you can't get a phone, but you can get Wix. Um, Ukraine claims that Russia launched an attack on the Chernobyl power plant radiation wall. So there's a wall that protects the surrounding area from the leftover radiation of Chernobyl, and Ukraine claims that Russia attacked it with a drone to slowly poison the people of of the Ukraine. And then the whole wall and the Chernobyl plant remains caught on fire shortly after that. Um, so that's a nightmare. Uh, Instagram is about to make a lot of people very sad if they move forward in the route that they're going. Uh, Instagram is testing. Hey, Josh, good morning, dude. Instagram is testing anonymous dislikes where people can anonymously dislike your posts and downvote them and basically socially bully everybody. Um, Instagram is testing this. I don't necessarily recommend. I'm not a big person for boycotting things and, fighting everything, but I would say this very clearly. I think this is a bad life choice, and there's a lot of teenagers and young people that find a lot of their validity and their voice in Instagram. And when people can start downvoting and bullying, I think people are going to literally suffer. So I really hope they don't go this route because it's going to cause a lot of unnecessary and unwanted damage more than it will do positives. Just being said, this week it was announced, I don't know if it was verified, but it was announced that Elon Musk fathered his 13th child. And why I'm bothering to announce this, because Nick Cannon, who has fathered 12 children, tweeted out, "Yo, Elon Musk got me out here looking for my super suit again. Congratulations, my brother." When Nick Cannon can crack on you about how many kids you have, that's funny. Um, but yes, Peru has been doing some fun things in crime prevention over the last few months. At Christmas time, they had a dude in a Santa suit raiding drug houses. Yes, Brendan, where's my super suit? Um, and they had Santa raiding drug houses on Valentine's Day. Um, the Peruvian police had someone in a capybara suit, carrying Valentines, walking through the street, raiding and drug houses and fighting crime. So Peru takes their stuff super seriously, but it gets the job done. Um, yeah, bananas. Let's see. Pope Francis has been diagnosed with bilateral pneumonia. The 88-year-old Pope has told parishioners and such that he might not survive this and they should prepare their hearts for that. Um, Dude, any 88-year-old with bilateral pneumonia is in danger, Pope or not. But uh, he's got people praying for him. A man was arrested this week in Florida for a Jewish man was arrested in Florida allegedly this weekend for shooting two men that he believed were Palestinian, and it turns out that they were Israeli. Either way, it wasn't a good life choice to shoot people anyway, but he literally ended up shooting his own people because he thought they weren't his people. And that's a good lesson for all of us. Maybe stop shooting people, but because we're all each other's people. Peace out, gang, gang. Um, and a really sad note this week, nearly 100 whales were euthanized, meaning put to sleep, killed, after they beached um, this week in Tasmania, which is sort of near Tristan. But nearly 100 whales were going to need to be euthanized after they got beached and couldn't be unbeached and were dying. So that's very sad. Uh, a technological company named Clone woke up their first proto clone this week. It is if you've ever seen Westworld, it looks like the things from Westworld. It is a musculoskeletal android bipedal, meaning it is a human. We're all each other's people, absolutely. Kelsey. But this robot is made from synthetic muscles and bones and has artificial intelligence. Um, and there's kind of disturbing footage of this thing being woken up into consciousness for the first time and using its arms and legs. Y'all, what are we doing? Stop. This is how apocalypses happen. Don't do this. Um, and this is bananas. This seems like an Eminem concert, not politics. Oh, sweet victory. Um, at the annual Conservative Political Action Conference in Maryland, the president of Argentina, uh, the president of Argentina, Javier Milei, gifted Elon Musk a silver chainsaw. They gave Elon a silver chainsaw, y'all, and Elon runs around stage with this chainsaw, announcing that this chainsaw is for bureaucracy to cut through everything. So if my boy, oh, listen, my man looks like he's in a Slim Shady video running around with a chainsaw. Um, and I know somebody is going to take that footage and put it with an Eminem song. I know it's going to happen. It's going to happen for sure. And yes, Brendan, I did miss a C3PO opportunity there. But yes, Elon with his chainsaw. And then last of the news, there's a highly anticipated video game for chill people that people have been waiting on called Tales of the Shire. It was supposed to release in July. It is now going to be coming out in November. So that is something that you should be aware of, that it will be coming out in November. So yeah. That's it for my news. And I am going to, don't know if I'm going to do a Bible reading just because I got to get to work. Um, but sorry, I'm double checking a work thing real quick because life be lifing. Okay. Um, you know what? It'll take me a few minutes. Let's read the Bible. Let's do this thing. Mm, yeah, let's do it. 3D20 and a D10. All right. I'm not going to pull out my tower because it's right there, but it's got right here. Oh, this is so going to be Old Testament. Um, 3, 7, so that's 10, 4, which is 14, and 5, which is 19 minus 3, leads us to the 16th book of the Bible. Um, Hopefully I won't get fired today. I just got to come back and pack up my car for Comic-Con and hit the road. But 16th book of the Bible gives us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Nehemiah, which is always a solid life choice, 579. I do this every Friday morning. I started it at the beginning of 2024 and did the entire year. A news show and then reading scripture. And you can find it on Facebook Live, YouTube, and wherever you get podcasts. But yeah, I do this every Friday morning. The time might vary depending on work because I have to go to a muggle job too, which I'm definitely going to be late for, but that's okay. They'll live. It's a part-time job, and I can choose my hours. But we got snowed out, air quotes, this week, so I'm under my hours, but it'll be okay. Um, there are 13 chapters in Nehemiah, so let's just roll a d20 and see if we can get under 13. 7, Nehemiah chapter 7. Here we go. There's a hole there. Packed it up. All right, we got a pencil. Pencil will do. All right, Nehemiah chapter 7. After the wall had been rebuilt and I had set the doors in place, the gatekeepers, the musicians, and the Levites were appointed. I put in charge of Jerusalem my brother Hanani, along with uh, Hananiah, the commander of the citadel, because he was a man of integrity and feared God more than most people do. That's a good depiction to have for yourself. A man of integrity and feared God more than most people do. I'll take that qualifier. Um, I said to them, the gates of Jerusalem are not to be opened until the sun is hot, while the gatekeepers are still on duty. Have them shut the doors and bar them. Also appoint residents of Jerusalem as guard, some at their post and some near their own houses. Now the city was very large and spacious, and there were few people in it, and the house had not yet been rebuilt. So my God put it in my heart to assemble the nobles, the officials, and the common people for registration by families. I found the genealogical record of those who had first returned, and this is what I found written there. This is all names. It's a whole page of names. Oh no. Um, Now this was a large spacious. This place was large and spacious, so there were few people in it, and the houses had not been. Yeah, I just did that part. Verse 6 says, "These are the people of the province who came up from the captivity of the exiles of Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon. The king had taken there, each to his own." Okay, I'm gonna fast forward through these names. Um, So I'm not going to pronounce them correctly, and we're going to move. Ready? Here we go. Zerubbabel, Joshua, Nehemiah, Azariah, Ramiah, Nahamani, Mordecai, Bislin, Mespereth, Bigvi, Neam, Bana. Oh, the list of the men of Israel. Wow. Hold on. This is actually interesting on one part. Okay, cool. That was just people's names. This is kind of neat. Kirk, hey, Faith and Family fan. Um, the men of Israel that were listed by Nehemiah, the descendants of Parash, 2,172, of Sephiath, 372, of Era, 652, of Pahath Moab, through the line of Jeshua and Joab, 2,818, Elam, 1254, Zatu, 845, Zakkai, 760. There's a lot of people up in here. Um, uh, Bennu 648, Bebe 628, Asgad, oh, it's not Asgard, 2322, Big Vi 667, Aiden 2067, Aiden Alt Aider through Hezekiah 655, Hashem 98, Bezai 328, Herify 324. Gibeon 112, the men of Netapeth. I'm just gonna jump on down to the end of the list of the names. I know that all scripture is profitable for teaching and everything, um, but y'all ain't y'all don't know these people. Um, but it goes on to tell us that there were priests, there were Levites, there were musicians, there were gatekeepers, there were temple servants, descendants of Solomon, um, temple servants of Solomon, descendants of Delilah and Nechodode. And yeah, okay, here we go. Back down to the scripture on these things. You know what? Uh, I'm gonna read chapter 8. I know I rolled 7, but 8 is not numbers. So let's do that part. Um, When the seventh month came, the Israelites had settled in their towns. All the people came together, one and square before the water gate. They told Ezra, the teacher of the law, to bring out the book of the law of Moses, which the Lord had commanded for Israel. So on the first day of the seventh month, Ezra the priest brought the law before the assembly, which had made up of men and women, and all who were able to understand. He read it aloud from daybreak till noon as he faced the square before the water gate and in the presence of the men and the women and others who could understand. And all the people listened attentively to the book of the law. My dude read for four daybreak until noon, so that's like 5 to 6 hours um, of that. Ezra, the teacher of the law, stood on high wooden platform built for the occasion. Beside him on the right stood Mattathiah, Shema, Ananiah, Uriah, Hilkiah, Messiah were left on the podium. Ezra opened the book, and all the people could see him because he was standing above them. As he opened it, all the people stood up. This is something that I would see like in certain churches that I would work with, that anytime scripture was read, people stood up. Ezra praised the Lord, the great God, and all the people lifted their hands and responded, Amen, Amen. Then they bowed down and worshiped the Lord with their faces to the ground. The Levites, Jeshua, Bani, Sherebai, Jamin, Akub, Shabbatai, Hodiah, Messiah, Kalidia, Azariah, Jozbad, Hanan, and Peliah instructed the people in the law while the people were standing there. They read from the book of the law of God, making it clear and giving it the meaning so that the people understood what was being read. That's important. They read from the book of the law of God, making it clear and giving the meaning so that the people understood what was being read. They actually took time to make sure people understood it. Then Nehemiah, the governor, Ezra the priest, and the teacher of all the law, and the Levites who were instructing the people said to them, This day is holy to the Lord your God. Do not mourn or weep. For all the people had been weeping as they listened to the words of the law. Mm. Nehemiah said, "Go and enjoy choice food and sweet drinks, and send some to those who have nothing prepared." Look at y'all taking care of each other. This day is holy to our Lord. Do not grieve, for the joy of the Lord is your strength. Say less. The Levites calmed the Levites calmed all the people, saying, "Be still, for this is holy day. Do not grieve." Then all the people went away to eat and drink and send portions of the food to celebrate with great joy, because they now understood the words that had been made known to them. On the second day of the month, the heads of all the families, along with the priests and the Levites, gathered around Ezra, the teacher, to give attention to the words of the law. They found written in the law, which the Lord had commanded through Moses, that the Israelites were to live in temporary shelters during the festival of the seventh month, and they should proclaim this word and spread it out through the towns in Jerusalem. Go out into the hill country and bring back branches from the olives and wild olive trees, from the myrtles, the palms, the shade trees, and make temporary shelters, as it was written. So the people went out and brought back branches and built themselves temporary shelters on their own roofs and their courtyards and the house of God, square by water, and the gate. If you're not aware that that was a Judaic um principle, is that during the seventh month you would live in a temporary shelter to kind of remind you of your dependence on God and that you still needed him and that it wasn't just about what you built. That's kind of cool. Um, the whole company that had returned from exile built temporary shelters and lived in them from the days of Joshua, son of Nun, until that day. The Israelites had not celebrated it like this, and their joy was very great. Day after day, from the first day to the last, Ezra read from the book of the law of God. They celebrated the festival for 7 days, and on the eighth day, in accordance with the regulation, there was an assembly. Um, that's cool. I like that they actually took the time to explain the things to the people and remind them, it's not always just about mourning. Sometimes you got to celebrate. So that's pretty dope too. I'm gonna have to head out in a moment to go do my muggle job. Before I do, I want to take a moment to thank our Patreon supporters because y'all help make everything functional. Rivka and Tristan Birch, Dorothy Martin, Michelle Stewart, Lynn Turner, David Brooks, Jeff Weimer, Colin Sproles, Jamie Montgomery, the Coleman family, Jonathan Herman, Ron Petit, Gear Saber Cosplay, Scott Ward, Alicia Glenn, Jay Sheed, Jason Crutchfield, Mike Perna, Todd Turner, John Jacobs, Zach Harris, Caleb Grimm, Jeanette Skaggs, Jason Bullock, Christina Ray, Sarah Lewis, Patrick Gale, Rebecca Godlove, and Adam Davis. Thank you all for supporting the great ways that you do and making all this possible. We'll be in Charleston this weekend for Captain's Comics Expo. I'll be heading there today as soon as I can get done with work and set up. And I think this will be the first time I've done this show by myself ever because I've taken a kid with me every year, and all of my kids are busy. It's part of growing up. Um, but yeah, it'll be the first time I've done the show alone. Um, it'll be all right though. So I will, if y'all happen to be in the Charleston area, come by and see me. If not, we'll be in Florence on March 14th, and then in Richmond, March 20 something through the 30th for GalaxyCon, and we've officially been approved for Geek Church and the Faith and Fandom discussion panel on Saturday, then Sunday for those respectively. Thank y'all for taking time to listen, to encourage, for being all that you are, and I look forward to seeing you all soon. Bye, y'all. Have a great day.